All right, Matt. Interesting fight as our prelims roll on, and at 135 pounds might come to a surprise to many, but we have Chito Marlon Vera taking on the Tazmexican Devil Ray Borg. And Matt, for Ray Borg, we saw him out not that long ago. Back in February, he was fighting Rogerio Bontorin, missed weight at 125 pounds. Now, I know that might not be a surprise, but his opponent, Bontorin, a much smaller opponent, thinner opponent, and a guy who fasted all fight week just so he can make the weight at the end. Now, Ray Borg in that fight absolutely dominated. Like I said, he uses chain wrestling, and that was pretty much the story of it. So Ray Borg at 125 pounds, he's challenged for the belt before. He's looked quite good at 125 pounds. Meanwhile, at 135 pounds, he missed weight in the Casey Kenny fight. And then he had, a tougher opponent, I guess, in Gabriel Silva. He was able to get the win there, weighed in at 136 pounds, not overweight. Now he's taking on Marlon Vera, and this is a totally different opponent than anything he's really faced, especially at 135 pounds, because Marlon Vera is like a Swiss Army knife once it gets past the first round. Tell me a little bit about this matchup.
So Marlon Vera, I'm not going to lie, he's in like my Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos of like, they don't have numbers next to their names, but when they're fighting, like I'm going to get really excited. Marlon Vera is one of those guys, like you said, 5 or 6 fight win streak, all by finish too, which is something that you don't see very often, especially in the lighter weight classes. Like Francis Ngannou, you expect that from him, but for a guy like Marlon Vera, and not only to be able to do it by one method, it's not like he's knocking everyone out or he's only submitting people. Perfect analogy, like you had said, really good Swiss Army knife guy, phenomenal Muay Thai, and he gets better after the first round. Bit of a slow starter. That's really been the story of his career. He's been able to kind of improve upon that as he's progressed through his UFC career, but second and third round Marlon Vera is very, very hard to deal with. And Ray Borg, you said it, former 125 guy moving up in weight. He's very undersized at that weight class. I think he stands at 5'3". He's not a very tall guy. And when you're fighting a guy like Marlon Vera, he's quite lanky for the division. He's a big guy. It's gonna be really hard to go for that chain wrestling and to really try to wear him out. When the distance, he's not even gonna be very close to Vera in the first place. And the kicks of Vera, I think, are gonna be a really big deal in this fight. I think he's gonna throw a lot of leg kicks that's gonna slow down Ray Borg. And then as the fight progresses, although Borg, I will say, would have the wrestling advantage, and he is really good, like you said, at chain wrestling and chain grappling, but he needs a lot of time to be able to kind of implement his game plan. Marlon Vera needs one knee. He needs one position. He needs one place where he can just inflict a lot of damage, and then from that moment on, you're kind of impeded throughout the rest of the fight just because you are so damaged. So I don't know how Marlon Vera is an underdog, but I definitely think he's going to win this fight.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. In terms of the odds right now, Ray Borg sitting at a minus 130 favorite, Marlon Vera plus 105. Marlon Vera is beating bantamweights, knocking them out, submitting them. In his last 2 fights, listen, I know Nolene Hernandez, his UFC tenure might not have been that great, but still, his last win over Andre Ewell, he looked amazing. And for Ray Borg, yes, he's looked good in his last 2 fights, and they've both been wins over Gabriel Fly Silva and Rogerio Bontorin, but still, bringing that in at 135 pounds when you're at such a height discrepancy, reach discrepancy, leg reach discrepancy, and listen, the fans are kind of going along with us. Over on Tapology at 353 votes, 80% are going with the underdog Vera, and they're splitting it between 50% decision, 25% knockout, 25% submission. So, listen, I see it that way. I could definitely see a method of victory for Marlon Vera. Ray Borg's a really tough out. Like, he's not an easy guy to finish unless you're the greatest of all time in your weight class. Like, he is pretty hard to finish. So I could certainly see it the way of decision for Marlon Vera. But yeah, just straight up, outright picking Marlon Vera to win this fight.
Yeah, 100%. Can't disagree.
100%. All right, well, you're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for UFC 249. 2 minutes for the prelims and the main card. 5 minutes for our main event between Tony Ferguson and, I was going to say Habib, but I'm not because it's Justin Gaethje, so you're not going to want to miss that. And as we always say, Matt, with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.